Hi everyone, welcome to this edition of the Fargo Force Show. I'm joined this week by Force forward Denis Smirnov. This is a special treat because Denis is from Moscow, Russia, so a long way, one of the furthest traveled guys on the Force this year for sure. Denis played last season with the Indiana Ice of the USHL, but this is your first season with the Force.
Yeah.
How has it gone so far? What would you say has been the thing that you kind of remember, and how's it gone so far this year, Denis?
We have a lot of ups and downs. It's going we work hard every practice, trying to work hard every weekend, get 2 points. So it's going pretty good.
Now last year, Indiana, who you were with, they ended up winning the Clark Cup championship last year, so the league championship. So what was that like to be a part of the league champions and to have that impressive run all the way through the playoffs?
It was fun time. It was a great experience playing on Game 5 in Waterloo, winning at their arena. It was a great experience. It was long year, hard work, but it's worth it.
Was it something that you had ever experienced? Have you ever won a championship like that? Was it one of the more, maybe one of your athletic highlights to go through a run and win a championship like that?
It's probably the most memorable for sure by now.
What stood out? I mean, when you were on a championship run like that, what is the biggest thing that kind of stands out to you as you look back?
Just how everyone buys in. The playoff game just changes from regular season games. Just everyone's buy-in, just the great spirit of a team.
So now you ended up after the Indiana won the championship last year. They're in a dormancy state basically in their franchise because they're making some different adjustments. So they had a dispersal draft, and that's how you ended up with the Force, right?
Yeah.
So you came over from Russia at age 14 for a couple of years, played some hockey in Pennsylvania. What was it like? Tell me about the decision behind deciding to come from Moscow over to the United States and play hockey.
My parents kind of made that decision, but I want to come here and play hockey because it's better hockey, I think, and more opportunity to go to the next level and develop as a player.
What's the biggest difference that you've seen between hockey over these last, this is your fourth year now playing in the United States, between hockey here and hockey in Russia?
I think hockey here is more physical. There's a bigger sheet in Russia, so there's more plays. They're making more plays, more passes. So
more finesse. Is there more of a finesse style?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. As we mentioned, you played for Indiana last year. What have you tried to instill or talk to the guys on this year's Force team? Just maybe share some things about what you went through with Indiana and some of the things that really helped you guys to be a good team last year. Is that something that you do, or maybe only when guys ask you? How have you approached that?
Only when guys ask me. I don't try to be cocky about it, but supposed to just tell them how everyone buys in, how playoff game went. Are
you kind of more of a lead by example guy, or are you kind of a verbal guy, or you just go more let your play on the ice do the talking?
I'm probably more a quiet guy, more example guy.
Okay. What did you growing up in Moscow? What did you like to do? What are some things that you had as hobbies?
In the summer, just play all the sports. Just play tennis, soccer, ping pong table. So.
Okay. Tennis in Russia, is that fairly big? I mean, is that somewhat popular?
Yeah, it's getting more popular.
Okay. You've committed to Penn State for your college career. How exciting is that? Is that hard not to be excited as you look forward, or is that just was it kind of a nice weight off your shoulders almost in a way when you kind of made that commitment?
When I visited there, I loved it. So it was exciting to commit there and know how the history of the school and how the team develops for the year.
Compare winters in Moscow to winters in Fargo.
Not so windy, no wind at all, but it's getting as cold as here, but not all the time.
Does it feel? I mean, is it a lot worse with the wind here? I mean, do you look back and say, man, I lived, it was warm where I lived in Moscow compared to the wind around here in the cold?
Yeah, sometimes it's getting real cold here with the wind.
But you're used to it, right?
Yeah.
Somewhat? All right. Well, in the last time, we'll talk with Denis in a little bit more, but in the meantime, the last time we had a show, the Force had played 4 games. They went 2-2 in those 4 games. Let's take a look at some of those highlights. The first was a back-to-back games with the Green Bay Gamblers. Friday on February 13th was the first one. First period, the Force turned it over in their own end, resulting in a goal by Joey Marooned. 1-0 Green Bay. It was 2-0 after 2. But in the third period, the Force were a force, erupting for 3 third-period goals. First on a power play, Fargo's TJ Rule controls in front of the net and pokes it in. That makes it 3-1. 3 minutes later now, the rebound off the shot It's going to come right to Mason Morelli, who then blasts it in, and the Force were down 3-2. Then with just over 2 minutes left in regulation, the Force on a power play again. The Justin Baudry shot is redirected in by Morelli, 3-2 Force, and that held up in the final minutes. What a comeback. The Force go on to win it 3-2 the final. The Force 2 for 4 on the power play, and they got 21 saves by Matthias Israelson to pick up a big win to start that homestand. So the very next night then, same two teams, the Force in their purple and pucks jerseys that were auctioned off afterwards. $18,000 raised for cancer survivorship. In the first period, Sean Mostrom from just inside the blue line. Goalie had trouble locating that one, 1-0. It was 1-1 in the second. After a shot, Fargo's Brody Stevens finds the puck before the defense can, and he pokes it in, heads up there, 2-1 Force. That's worth another look. Quick reflexes by Stevens on that goal. Move to the third now, still 2-1 Force on the power play. It's Jenkins. Jack Jenkins working in front of the net, gets a stick on it to push it across the final few inches as we take another look from the top cam. He paid for it afterwards, but it counts as a goal. Watch him push it in right there. That would be the game-winning goal. 3-1 at that point. The Force would win it 3-2 for the second straight night. Same score, same result. So the Force win it. Israelson stellar in net again with 36 saves. The Force win despite 8 penalties in 43 penalty minutes. Always nice when you can do that. So Dennis, 2 huge wins for the Force. How do you talk about those 2 games and just that momentum that you had in this last stretch, feeling pretty good after beating a good Green Bay team 2 in a row?
Yeah, we had pretty good 2 third periods when we scored 3 goals. And then just knew we can come back and we can beat this team.
So the next weekend, then the Force with another couple of big games and teams in their own division. Could they carry that momentum over? The first of those was against Sioux Falls, one of the teams just above them and rated 4th for the final spot in the Western Conference, and it turned out to be perhaps maybe the most disappointing weekend for the entire season of the Force. They fall 5-0 on Friday to Sioux Falls. Next night, they come back at Omaha, and they lose 5-1. They led 1-0 in the second period after a Brody Stevens goal, his 13th goal of the season, by the way. But after that, it was all Omaha. So the Force finished that weekend 0-2, getting outscored 10-1 in those 2 games. These past 4 games, 2-2 to stay a game below 500. As we look at the standings, Dennis, talk about real quick these last 2 games. Not probably a weekend that everybody kind of wants to forget, huh?
Yeah, it was a pretty rough weekend for our team, but I think we started games pretty good and then just made a couple mistakes, and it led to the goals and kind of went through that.
It was just kind of the opposite of the Green Bay series where you guys finished strong in the third period. These last 2 games, it was kind of like they really finished strong and you guys didn't.
Yeah, we kind of started hard, played good, was leading through the second period, but then made a couple of mistakes. All
right, well, let's take a look at the updated standings in the USHL now in the Western Conference after these past 4 games. Sioux City still on top along with Tri-City. The Force currently sit in 6th place. Remember, the top 4 teams make the playoffs. So the Force with 43 points. They trail Sioux Falls right now, who's in 4th, by 8 points. The Force have 16 games left in the season, so not a lot of time to get going. Still within reach, though. Let's take a closer look at those final 16 games here. You have 16 games remaining. 12 of those are against teams ahead of you guys in the standings, Dennis. You play 1 against Sioux City, 4 against Tri-City, and then the ones where you can really maybe make some hay. 4 games against Omaha, who's in 3rd place, 2 against Sioux Falls, and 1 against 5th place Des Moines. How important is it that you guys have some division games still left? And what are you guys going to have to do in these last 16 games, do you think, to make a run at that 4th spot?
We just need to stick to the plan, work hard, and when we play division teams, it's like 4-point games, so we can catch them up. So,
is it kind of is it almost a belief? Does it have to just start with a couple of wins and the team kind of have to believe, and all of a sudden you never know what can happen? I mean, you look at maybe the Minnesota Wild this season; they were struggling bad. All of a sudden they turn it around. Is it going to be kind of one of those things if it happens where you get a couple in a row and it just kind of snowballs and that kind of type of thing?
Yeah, we just need 1 win, just maybe straight 2, and then we'll keep going.
Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule then for the Force for the next 2 weeks. On Friday, February 27th and 28th, the Force visit Youngstown. And then on Thursday and Friday, March 5th and 6th, they're back home against Tri-City. Friday, March 6th game is the Force Pucks and Paws night. You can sign up your dog on that night, who, if it's 20 pounds or less, to race on the ice after the first intermission. Always a blast, always a fun time there. So Pucks and Paws night at Shields Arena on March 6th. And as always, you can learn more at fargoforce.com. Dennis, tell me a little bit about your season this year. What have you been most pleased with that you've done from an individual standpoint, and what are the things that you still feel like, you know what, I really want to improve or have to improve that aspect of my game?
I think I can make plays, and I always have some power play goals. Our line scored a lot of goals this year, but I always want to improve my speed and shot accuracy.
Have you felt much more comfortable this year than you did even last year with Indiana, or because it's a new team, was it harder? Have you felt better and more comfortable this year?
It's easier because last year I was a rookie. It was first year, but this year I know what to expect, and it's easier to adjust to like a speed and physical plays.
Now, you said your family's back in Moscow still.
Yeah.
So you can maybe, why don't you say a little something to them if you want on this Force Show? I'm sure they can probably watch this on the internet when it gets posted. So what would you like to say to your family if you could in Russian before we head out?
Всем привет, по всем скучаю, всех люблю. Скоро увидимся.
I heard Sacre Bleu in there. Was that right?
Yeah.
What did you say?
I said I love them.
Nice. All right. Well, Denis Smirnov, thanks for joining us this week. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Thanks for having
All
me.
right. That'll do it for this week's edition of the Fargo Force Show. Have a good one, everybody.